We're just about to close, sorry. We'll be... Oh, hello again. Oh wow, you look absolutely spent. You know, I was just going to lock up, but you look like you need a rest and a drink. If you don't mind me clearing up around you, I don't mind making an exception. Yeah, you sit yourself down and I'll get you some tea. No, really, you make yourself comfortable there. I'll be right back. Here we go. A fresh pot of tea. That'll need a few minutes to brew. And I brought a cup for myself while I was at it. Milk jug, sugar bowl, and there's a jug of cold water just in case the tea's too hot. There we go. It's like we're having a little tea party. Don't let me get too distracted though. I've still got to lock up soon. No, don't worry about it. Just don't make a habit of coming this late, eh? So, something troubling you, or just a busy day? Oh, I know how those days can be, I'm sorry. Still, you're at the end of the day now. That means you made it through, and that's something to be proud of, isn't it? Oh, of course it is. Don't sell yourself short. I mean it. Even if it seems like a small thing, it's still worth giving yourself a pat on the back, as they say. Show yourself a bit of kindness for the effort you put in. You deserve a rest and it looks like you need one. Okay? Hey, if you need it, you need it. No sense in burning yourself out. You can't keep running on fumes. Take some time to recover. Yeah, of course. You do your best when you feel your best. That's how I see it. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sure you're more capable than you think. Well, okay, I guess responsibilities are important, but you don't have to handle everything alone, you know. It's okay to need help sometimes. Don't be afraid to reach out. You'd be surprised. There's always someone you can lean on, so long as you're there when they need someone to lean on too, eh? That's the kind of folk you need in your life, and the kind of folk we should all try to be in life too, I reckon. Now, let's see how that tea's doing. Ah, nearly ready. I'll give it a stir in another minute to steep. I brought a little something else too I hope will cheer you up. Ta-da! Mini tea cakes! Sometimes people have a hard time choosing what they want, and I had some recipes I wanted to try out, so I made some little bite-sized cakes. That way folk can pick a few and have a bit of variety. Consider these ones free samples. I always appreciate feedback on them. No, really, go ahead. I'm still recipe testing, so I've been handing these out all day. Oh, I don't do it too often. Obviously I've still got to cover costs. But when I'm still experimenting, well, it's a chance to see if it's worth making more. Ah, that tea looks about ready now. Here we go. One for you. And one for me. And help yourself to milk, sugar. Oh, and there's that cold water if the tea's too hot. You're very welcome. Now, let's see what you think of these cakes. So, this one's very traditional. Victoria sandwich. Just a light sponge with homemade strawberry jam, but I wanted to try an old-fashioned way of making it. You see, you crumble the butter into the flour like you would for pastry, and then you whip up the eggs and sugar separately like you would for a meringue, and then you fold them together to make the batter. I think it gives it an interesting crumbly texture, different from the usual sponge cake, but good, right? Yeah, could maybe use a little icing. Perhaps a little buttercream on top, not tons, just enough to hold in the moisture. I'd love to make some traditional nutty pastries too, like a Bakewell tart or a coffee walnut cake, but well, it'd be hard to make everything else safe for anyone with a nut allergy, And like I said before, this should be a place everyone is welcome, and it can't really be that if I can't guarantee the food is safe for people with a common allergy. And did you know griffins aren't meant to eat peanuts? Yeah, they're very sensitive to something that can grow on them apparently. I had no idea. I think it's like how canines can't have grapes. It's not because of the grape, it's the must on the grape or something like that. I forget exactly. Oh well, almond milk is a bit easier to keep separate. It's a liquid after all. But when you start working with actual nuts or nut flour, there's dust and crumbs and oil to worry about. It gets everywhere. It's why they always have to put that little made in a factory that handles nuts label on packaged food. I mean, even cooking in the same oven can cause contamination with other food because of the volatile oils. But anyway, let's try another cake. How about this one? It's a raspberry French fancy. I always feel disappointed that the pink ones have no real flavour, so I thought why not make one myself? Just a little raspberry syrup in the icing and raspberry extract in the sponge. It's a sheet cake recipe which makes it a bit easier. Just make a big one, then cut it up into little squares. And the icing is fondant, so that just sort of lays on. What do you think? Has it got enough fruity flavour? Yeah? I wasn't sure how much raspberry extract to use, but I didn't want to go too heavy-handed with it. Better a mild flavour than too strong. Ah, good, I'm glad. Oh yeah, could definitely put some raspberry jam in between the layers. Good idea. Oh, well, I always cooked. Dragons don't have fire for nothing, but I got interested in baking when I met Helen's dad. That's sort of a long story, but he makes some great bread, and bread is such an interesting food, right? I mean, there's so many steps to get from wheat to bread. You've got grain, which is basically grass seed, ground up into powder, then add water and yeast, which is generally considered a kind of mould, and then you push it and pull it and knead it to make the protein get stretchy, and then you have to wait for the yeast to grow, and then bake it, and then it's bread. And that's amazing. And then there's cakes and biscuits and cookies and pastry and pie, all these things from just ground up grain. It just really captured my imagination, you know. So from then on, I learnt as many recipes as I could, picked up more anywhere I went, and then just kept practicing and tweaking them to get them as best as I could make them. And of course, then I get to serve it to people and see them enjoy it, and that's the best part. Speaking of which, one more cake to try. Okay, this one's probably the most challenging. I've had a few goes at getting the mix right already. It's another carob cake, little faux chocolate mini cupcake with cherry jam and melted carob icing. I was going for a sort of black forest cake flavour, though it's non-alcoholic, don't worry. And I even made it gluten and dairy free. It's got gluten-free oat flour, oat milk and rice bran oil. Yeah, I think the flavour of the rice oil isn't as strong as vegetable oil, you know, a bit less of a greasy texture too. And it's something most people can eat even if they have other dietary issues. Yeah, the oil makes it nice and moist. Do you think it loses anything from being a free-from recipe? Yeah, I used flax for the egg alternative, yeah. Didn't rise as much because of it. I know some people like that though, but I don't know. I just wanted to make sure I had something that covered all bases, you know. Vegan, dairy intolerance, gluten intolerance, chocolate allergy, etc. But I still want it to taste good, so be absolutely honest. No sugar coating, eh? No pun intended. You think it's a bit too dense too, eh? Yeah, I can probably do something to whip the batter up more. Yeah, the oat flavour comes through a bit too. Maybe I could mix in some rice flour. Worth experimenting a bit more for sure. Thanks for the feedback. Like I said before, I appreciate it. I could probably make some different biscuits and cookies too. Maybe some with jam in the middle, like a jammy dodger or a thumbprint cookie. Though I can't really do thumbprint cookies with these claws. But there's also some savoury recipes I can play around with. I really need to add more vegetarian stuff to the menu. It was never something I really thought about before, being a carnivore myself. But there's herbivorous species I should really be catering to, and humans and elves who are vegetarian, of course. Humanoid species are kind of lucky there, being true omnivores. Means a lot more choice when it comes to diet. Well, I can eat a little bit of bread and fruit and stuff. Cakes are a bit of a weakness of mine, in fact. It's just not good for me to eat too much. It's more the process of making it I enjoy, and getting to see others enjoy it. Hey, what about you? What's your favourite treat? Is it something sweet, or do you go for more of a savoury kind of comfort food? Oh, that sounds great. I'll have to try adding something like that to the menu. I'm sure I can find some recipes and put my own spin on it. You feeling a bit better now? Ah, good. See what a nice cuppa and a little treat can do? Oh, don't worry about that, really. I'd only have to open up the register again. Well, okay, if you insist. That's very good of you. Remember the cakes were free samples, though, eh? Is that the time? Oh, whoops, here I am getting carried away. I forgot I was meant to be closing up. Sorry for talking your ear off for so long. It's okay, take your time with your tea. I'll shoo you out once I've got the rest cleaned up. I really hope your evening goes better from here. Oh, you don't have to keep apologising. Just remember our closing time in future, alright? Really, it's fine. And thanks for the feedback on the cakes, and for the company, to be honest. It's nice to just have a chat one-on-one sometimes. Anyway, I better get cleared up and closed. Enjoy your tea. You can leave the tray when you're done, I'll get that. Cheers. And I did travel far beyond mountain of great mere bright flame and his mighty deeds. But where did he go? From whence did he come? Okay, gonna have to lock up now. You okay from here? Take care then. You have a good night. See you soon. Hopefully before closing time though, eh? Yeah. Okay, good night then. Bye for now.